Hello, welcome to Gathering the Roll, the tabletop, of course, news program. Welcome. It is, of course, October 24th, 2017. I hope everybody is having a great day. Apologies, my niece will be around a little bit. I'm watching her at the moment, so if there's a little interruptions, you'll get it here on the live stream side, and I'll try to edit it out on the, of course, YouTube side. So if you're catching this on YouTube, you'll miss most of the excitement. But for those of you that are here now with me, you get to enjoy it. Sorry. Alright. Well, why don't we, of course, dive into the news for this week, starting with the CCG binder. To start everything out, of course. So, this is Gathering the Roll, the news program where I go over all the news and kickstarters this week in tabletop. But in our CCG binder, we do have some Magic the Gathering news to start out with. Of course, 2 of their tournaments. The Grand Prix. 3 Grand Prix tournaments. First is Grand Prix Phoenix, Arizona, an Ixalan Sealed Deck tournament going over this weekend. You can try to register now, still open. Of course, it's $80 for the main event, $100 for the main event package. Also out is another Ixalan Limited, Liverpool, England. Also, registration is open, £60 to join that one. So both of those you can join. And the final one is, of course, another limited event, Grand Prix Hong Kong. So that is 700 Hong Kong dollars. Must be different kind of traded there. But it is also this weekend for a limited format, and you can register now. Moving on in the CCG binder, of course, we want to talk about Yu-Gi-Oh! Circuit Breaker. So this is a new booster pack out for, of course, Yu-Gi-Oh! 100 card set, 100 card size set. It is unleashed now, 9 cards per pack. It's got a idealism of machinery and mad marionettes, mad monsters, mad scientists, insectoid creatures. It's Memorable Monsters reborn in a way. Some famous monsters kind of brought back. So now Circuit Breaker is, of course, out, and you can check it out if you're interested in it. But why don't we move on from our CCG binder to our RPG bookshelf? Of course, we do have some news coming out. Sorry, excuse me. So out first, of course, is a product from Starfinder. Alien Archive. So Alien Archive is effectively the bestiary for Starfinder. It's filled with all kinds of alien life forms, 80 bizarre life forms, basically classic and new, 20 races with full rules for playing them, alien technology, NPC creation system. So it's a lot more than your average bestiary as you would have it in, let's say, Pathfinder. It's a lot more about not only the creatures you'll find, but what they might have on them. Basically, you know, technology, and some other actual races that would be aliens and ways to play them. So now, if you're up for exploring the universe, finding out about interesting and strange things, you can check this out, of course, now. Alien Archive is available in hardcover form, if you want to get it. Well, the PDF is available, the hardcover form is coming soon. Shipped soon. So, alright. Why don't I just take a brief pause here and find out what's going on with my knee. So, why don't we move on with the news, though, because there's plenty more to talk about, and, well, we want to run through it all. There is a new Star Wars. Ooh, that's just not a great picture of it, but that's the best I could find. Anyway, it's a Star Wars adventure now for the Force and Destiny adventures. Ghost of Dathomir is a new adventure for it that you can get. Jedi Order is abolished, it's all but extinct, and the remaining sort of those that follow Jedi teachings are chasing whispers of various kind of artifacts while avoiding the Imperials who don't want to deal with them. And this places you in the hunt for one of those artifacts while trying to avoid some problems. So it's got a little bit of, you know, running into some crime, visiting an interesting world, and going into some dark realms that you might not be ready to encounter, but you're going to have to. Alright, why don't we move on to Dungeon Fantasy Companion. So Dungeon Fantasy Companion is a release by Steve Jackson Games. They had gotten a Kickstarter for the Dungeon Fantasy role-playing game, and the 3 stretch goals that they had gotten together for that are put all together here. Traps, magic items, and Against the Ratman, a ready-to-play sequel to I Smell the Rat. Offers new dangers to your players. So if you're a fan of the Dungeon Fantasy role-playing game system, as it is now, you can check this out now, of course. So, the Dungeon Fantasy Companion is out now. There we go. So, Dungeon Fantasy Companion, out now. Alright, why don't we move on? We are finishing up with our RPG bookshelf now, and let's go to the card game corner. Let's, of course, start with Munchkin Shakespeare Deluxe. So it's Munchkin Shakespeare. I mean, that's pretty self-explanatory. It was technically funded on Kickstarter, so it was put out on Kickstarter. They were seeing if people wanted a basically Shakespeare-themed version of Munchkin, and looks like people did. People backed it, got the project to life. So now the deluxe version of it is out. This is the version that is being published, $30. It is basically Shakespeare's styled Munchkin. It's an unusual one, and hence why they decided to do a little bit of Kickstarter about it to see if people really wanted it. And guess what? You folks did. And now they have it unleashed for you to play. Alright, let's move on, though, as we do have one board game from the board game pile out. It is the Tomb of Annihilation board game from D&D. So, Tomb of Annihilation is taking your heroic characters, ability spells, magic weapons, goods to Chult, to the Tomb of the 9 Gods to fight monsters, overcome traps, find treasures, etc. All the various things you need to do. 42 miniatures, 3 Misty Arc standees, a couple Devil Face standees, 5 heroes, 4 villains, some rule books, 40 tiles, so it's just like a lot of the other D&D tile-based games where you're exploring and building a dungeon as you go, except, once again, you know, this is based upon the Tomb of Annihilation adventure, which just came out. So there is a standard edition with $80 single-colored miniatures, or a fully painted edition for $160. So all the miniatures, all 42 of them, will be fully painted, look just like how they're supposed to look in there. And this can, of course, be combined with all the other cooperative types, Temple of Elemental Evil, Legend of Dritz, Castle Ravenloft, Wrath of Ashardalon, that have come out now, to have crazy and insane experiences of combining them all. It's a co-op game for 2 to 5 players, based on the Tomb of Annihilation, which is, of course, just come out. Let's move on, though. Alright, everyone, let's move on to the Kickstart display. So we do have a number of Kickstarters to talk about with you today. Let's, of course, start with the RPG Kickstarters, and this one here, Titan Effect RPG. It's for the Savage World. So we've 8 days to go on this one. It's about 2/3 of the way funded. This is a licensed campaign setting for the Savage Worlds. It's a contemporary world where psychics, spies clash with genetically enhanced soldiers in a secret war with human evolution at stake. So you'll train in, you're going to take the role of operatives with psychic abilities, go on dangerous missions for an organization known as Spear. So it does require the Savage Wars core rules, and it does require the Superpowers companion from the 2nd edition. But other than that, it's a world of psychics and augmented humans that, if you're interested in enhancing your Savage World game, this might be a new interesting campaign setting you'll be interested in. And of course, as I said, this is going on now. You can check out the Kickstarter and see if you're interested in supporting this, if this is the kind of thing for you. Well, also out on Kickstarter, we have a return to Kickstarter. It is Heroes, NPCs for Hire, Heroes and Villains. So you might always need a source for, well, heroes and villains. This has 23 days to go. It's about 23. It's about 2/3 of the way done funding this one with 23 days to go. And this is a 52 card deck of beautifully drawn portraits, 3 editions of NPCs for Harrier combined together. It's the 4th edition of them. It's a way to work with your RPGs. It's a venturing tool for tabletop RPGs. So it's a card deck sets for your various adventures to help you out, and it's getting pretty good way on the way. So if you're interested in this sort of combination of them for some better artwork, development, and shipping of them, that if you want to use premium deck aids such as Pathfinders, critical decks, and fumble decks, this is one for, of course, heroes and villains, various types of NPCs that you might want to have out there to help your various role-playing games. Of course, these are more fantasy-based, but still, you can have it now as an accessory that the Kickstarter's going on. Also out for Kickstarter is Era, the Consortium, a Universe of Expansion 2. Okay, so this is the Era, the Consortium universe. They want to expand it a little bit, and they don't want to just give 1 or 2 expansion books. They want as many as possible, so they're running a second Universe of Expansions Kickstarter. And they funded 8 expansions last year. So they have loads more ideas for expansions and are hoping to, of course, fund them all. Get there. They are actually fairly close to their first goal. It's those 33 days to go. It's been, of course, 2 years since Era the Consortium came out. So it's a Star Wars type resistance against an oppressive government with giant say-subs, some cyberpunk, alien alien races, a lot of stuff that Era the Consortium manages to do. Don't play things over there. And of course, though, they want a lot more Kickstarter. They want a lot more expansions to it. You know, they want to keep expanding their universe. And they have 18 expansions, which they include the ones that they've prepared 18 more. Including ones that they have for new ones that they didn't unlock in the previous Kickstarter. Things like that. So plenty of stretch goals. They want all the expansions they can get. And they're pretty close to funding the early ones already. So the more money they get, the more expansions they get. 33 days, and you can get a lot of these expansions if you want them too. You can start getting a whole bunch of them. For £25, you can get all the new expansions in digital format. At least 3 of them. So think about that. That they're at least funding 3 expansions with this. So if you're a big fan of Era the Consortium, and you want a whole bunch more books, this might be the way to go for you. Let's move on, though, to another Kickstarter that's an RPG. Symborum the Monster Codex. So Symborum's an RPG, a dark fantasy setting RPG that I've talked about here on this show and on Discussing Tabletop. And they're having a Kickstarter campaign to unleash their Monster Codex. Basically a book of adversaries and monsters that you can face against. It's going to be built in 3 sections, like most Symborum books. Basically, the ambush. They're going to produce this bestiary to start out with, then foes, and a feature kind of with lore about these various creatures. So the Kickstarter is going now, and it has been funded. It's been funded by quite a good amount. So you are in stretch goal territory. It's got 15 days to go. So if you're supporting this one, it has already been going, so you will get the base material for it. As I said, they will have their multiple sections, multiple headers. They're going to have the source book of monsters, adversaries, and then the rules and guidelines to throw everything together. And they've had a very success in Kickstarters on there. Come on. They do want a softcore print edition of it, which is the first stretch goal, which they are approaching. Right now, they're only releasing it in PDF format, but they do want to see about a paper format. And eventually they want to do maybe hardcore, some various other things, monster cards. So the expansions are going to be pretty cool and interesting if you want to check out this now. And if you're a fan of the dark monster card system. Let's, of course, move on to the next Kickstarter, since we have a few more to talk about. Monster Hunters Club. So, there's always that popular story about a group of kids defeating a monster. There's things like Stranger Things, if you're going classic, but you can stay right there and be adorable. I can accept this in the background. Monster Squad for a classic one from the 80s. And so this is a setting book for Savage World. So yes, once again, Savage World role-playing game system. It's set in the 1980s. It's basically the kids' adventure horror TV series novels. A lot of things like E.T., Goonies, Monster Squad, Lost Boys, Fright Night, It, Super 8, of course, Stranger Things for something more popular. You take the roles of children in the 80s here who become heroes. That's the basic premise of it. Now, it has been funded, of course. So there's another one that's been funded. It's got 22 days to go, working on stretch goals. And here's a point where if you're interested in these kind of 80s kind of things with the children versus the monsters, kind of versus the adults a little bit, now you too can, of course, get this one and check it out. It's going to have a whole bunch of archetypes, information, a small bestiary, details on a town set in Alabama, a lot of information that you're going to need to work, of course, with your Savage Worlds games to have your adventures in the 1980s. So, if you're interested in some kind of 1980s fun with some monsters, you can check out, of course, the Monster Hunter Club now. Let's, of course, move on to the next one. Stop it. Goblins. Alright, this is a post-apocalyptic RPG. That's the easiest way to say it. When you think of goblins, you think of, fantasy settings. But now we're going to a post-apocalyptic world with Fallout, and they call it Fallout meets Tolkien. So, goblins are looking to survive in a world that's been utterly destroyed. But you're still a goblin, It's an original RPG setting where you're exploring a post-apocalyptic Earth as goblin creatures, who you're just like any traditional goblins. You're violent, kind of stupid, you love chaos, and, you find great ways to add it in just in this new world. Normally they live in, fantastic worlds of wizards versus dragons, kingdoms. So now we're in a world of cars, guns, bazookas, and robots. And mutants are out there, bombed out apartments. And there's a lot of better places than your goblin huts. And so there's a lot of toys and interesting things for your goblins to explore and take care of. So it looks like an interesting adventure. Now they are funded. They funded up. It's got 17 days to go. They just hit their goals. So now's your opportunity as a goblin, basically a fantasy creature and a fun fantasy creature to play, to go against, to go on basically adventuring themes as rather than medieval, Fallout-esque post-apocalyptic. So it's got a unique system centered around the D12. If a human rolls a D20, the goblin rolls a D12. So, as a human roll a D20, goblins roll D12s. They're weaker, not quite as good, but all your major goblin stats, which are Bash, Brave, Run, Know, Laugh, Jerk, come into play with this D12. And they aren't necessarily weak. They work together. And they have great ideas. So that's Goblin. Why don't we move on from Kickstarters that are RPGs to Kickstarters that are board games? We have Heroes Crossing. We only have a few more of these to go through. So this is like 16 8-bit games and running around killing monsters. It's supposed to have a little bit of old tabletop feel. You play as the mayor of a town in a fantasy world, and you got to attract the best heroes to basically save the town. That's the easiest way of saying it. So you're not going on quests, you're not killing dragons. You're constructing a town, getting resources that heroes will want for epic quests. So your place will be the place to visit, along with the epic quests that are going on. And the art evolves from 8-bit to 16-bit to 32-bit. So, it's been going on now. Heroes Crossing is... It's at 17,000 out of 21,000 goals, so it's fairly well close to being funded. 28 days to go. And as I said, it's for 2 to 4 players. Recommend 14 at least. 90 minutes to play, and you start from various levels. The more bits you basically get in your heroes, the better the heroes are. Kind of things that you're going to be attracting to town. So you, as the mayor, will be doing this and building your towns for an exciting, different version of an 8-bit adventure. But let's move on to a card game, Butts in Space. So, there's sometimes lack of diversity in themes, but then you get something like this. Looking to get back toilet paper that's been stolen, and your now destroyed toilet ship. Yeah. It's different. It's got a weird name. But, I mean, it's 2 to 4 players, 30 to 60 minutes, and you play a lot of Butts in Space. Now, it's only about a quarter of the way funded, 19 days to go. But if you're interested in something a little sillier, this might be what you want to get. Butts in Space. Alright. We have Fightlings, a card game that's up on Kickstarter. It's a hybrid card game that you make your own deck of 17 cards shuffled together with your opponent's decks. The cards are then set out in a grid that you must try to make matching pairs of cards. And when you do, you can take that creature and control it to attack your opponent. A little complexity, but an interesting one. The last player with any hit points wins. So it's a little bit of memory game, a little bit of something like Magic the Gathering, and it's up on Kickstarter. So there are tons of different champions, fightlings, minions, big bunch of tokens. It's a adaptable card game. Now they're about halfway funded with 22 days to go. So they're definitely combining a little bit of that modern battling mechanics with something classic like, you know, the children's memory game. So if you want to try something like this, it is a 2-player game. They're saying it's only going to be 5 to 15 minutes, so pretty short, quick game. It's, of course, out now, and the Kickstarter is, as I said, up, but you can check it out, halfway funded. It'll be a little fun game that you can try out if you're interested. Last one today is, of course, Demons, the Ninth Circle of Hell Unleashed. So, Award-Winning Games has launched this. It's a card game where your players are, well, they're demons from the Ninth Circle. You know, that's what you are. That's what we're dealing with. Well, no, it's in the name. Demons in the Ninth Circle from Hell are on the loose, and you gotta deal with them. It's customized, letting you play it over and over again, facing the same waves of enemies, even twice. It features a high fantasy adventure for gamers and non-gamers. It's for 1 to 8 players. It's for 1 to... Oh, wait. Sorry. It's for 1 to 8 or more players, but best with 2 to 6. It's a customizable playtime because of the nature of it. Normally, it's about 60 to 90 minutes they're going to estimate. It's about a third funded with 7 days to go, so it doesn't have a whole lot of time, but a little bit of information throw it forward. It's got 50 unique instances to explore with a unique story and dynamics. It does take less than 5 minutes to set up and learn, they say. Unlimited replayability. You will face some incredible, like, horrible demons from history and more, and tradition, things like that. It is semi-cooperative or cooperative. You can play it either way. Highly customizable. It is a card game. Of course, 50 unique instances, 90 unique demon lords, 50 monsters, 50 unique quests, 8 specialized keeps. As you deal with demons from the Ninth Circle of Hell being unleashed, and you attempting to have to deal with them, maybe as a group, maybe not. But, of course, you can check this out now. It's up on Kickstarter if you're interested in it. Alright, so that is indeed it for the news for this week. I hope everybody has had a great day, and remember, we will be discussing a bunch of these, both topics and Kickstarters, up on this Saturday at Discussing Tabletop, 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I will be putting this up on YouTube later on this afternoon, after I do edit it a little bit, because of adorable background niece. So sorry about that today, but you know, family is family. I hope everyone does, again, have a great day, and comes next week, we will have more Gathering the Roll news. And we'll enjoy more of the news. So, again, if you have any questions about any of these news stories, put them up on the YouTube. send them to me on Twitter, or we can talk about them on Discussing Tabletop 1 p.m. right here on this channel Saturday. So, everyone, have a great day, and I'll see you here next week. Bye.